What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Man Cave Podcast, brought to you by our good friends from Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Dan here with you as always, and we're going to talk a little football in this episode of the podcast. So, second half, or the second part of this podcast, I should say, Greg Rosenthal from NFL.com came out, and he does this every year, his top 101 free agency list. I broke it down into tiers, and I know I probably should have expanded tier 1 to include a little bit more, but tier 1, I put 1 through 10, tier 2, 11 through 59, tier 3, 60 to 101. The reason I did that is because if you're a Packers fan or you're a fan of any other team, pick one free agent from tier 1, two free agents from tier 2, two free agents from tier 3. What do you got? I want to hear from you. I make my picks for the Packers coming up in the second half of this episode. But we're going to begin talking a little bit about a potential maybe rule change. At least the Packers would like to see that rule change. So we got, it's combine week and such going on in the NFL, but there's also there's some other stuff going on. And you got competition committee meetings, you got owners' proposals and such. You got kind of the business side, maybe not the business side, but the behind-the-scenes side of some of the NFL stuff. I mean, everybody's together in Indianapolis, so they're trying to knock out some of the stuff and get some meetings done in that. But yesterday, one of the bigger nuggets to be thrown out there, Troy Vincent, who works with the NFL. He's the NFL EVP, Executive Vice President of Football Operations, told the NFL Network that one team had submitted a proposal to ban the play, the Tush Push play. And he did not identify the club. However, Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network revealed that it was the Green Bay Packers who were the team to put that proposal out there for the Tush Push, which, again, Mark Murphy just a few weeks ago, I think it was just a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, he was vocal and it was public that he was not a fan of the Tush Push. He was not, and this was back on Packers.com when he does his monthly Q&A. Murphy said, "I'm not a fan of this play. There's no skill involved, and it's almost an automatic first down on plays of a yard or less. The series of plays with the Commanders jumping off sides in the NFC Championship game to try to stop the play was ridiculous. The referee even threatened to give the Eagles an automatic touchdown if the Commanders did not stop it. I would like to see the league prohibit pushing or aiding the runner on this play. There used to be a rule prohibiting this, but it is no longer enforced because I believe it was thought to be too hard for the officials to see. The play is bad for the game, and we should go back to prohibiting the push of the runner. This would bring back the traditional quarterback sneak that worked pretty well for Bart Starr and the Packers in the Ice Bowl." So that was from Mark Murphy on his monthly Packers.com Q&A where he answers questions from fans and such. So, Packers fans, do you agree? Do you agree with Mark Murphy? And, the headline is banning the Tush Push, but really when you're breaking it down, it's banning the aid of the ball carrier and pushing him and such and trying to get that extra yard or get across for a first down or get into the end zone. And essentially bringing back the traditional quarterback sneak. So, do you agree with that? I think when you phrase it to the point of like you want it to be back to more of a traditional quarterback sneak without the aid of pushing the runner, you may get more people that are in favor of that. When you just flat out say banning the Tush Push, there might be some, no pun intended, but some pushback on it. I fully get where Mark Murphy's coming from on this, and I completely understand it. And honestly, I may, and I'm not trying to sound like a hater in this. I'm not trying to sound like, sour grapes or anything like that. But I understand why some teams or some people may not want the tush push out there, may not want that play out there. But at the same time, Packers also kind of did it. They did it too with Tucker Kraft. I mean, and a couple times, I know a lot of people yesterday on social media were putting out clips of Jordan Love doing it and that. And this past year, we saw the Tucker Kraft play. He was getting aided and such. So, I mean, the Packers aren't, necessarily victims of this. They've done their version of it. So I understand both sides of the argument here. I really do, but it's a play that is not, as I was reading too, like a lot of, I think it was Sean McDermott that said this, or maybe it was because he's on the competition committee, head coach for Buffalo, or maybe it was somebody else, but they said, there's not enough data yet because it's a play that's so infrequent. It's not used all the time. There's not enough data to determine about whether, there's an increase in injuries and such. So, I mean, I could see it if it does get banned, it would be under the flag of making the game safer and not, trying to take away that play. Because, I mean, we've heard like Jason Kelce talk about it and all these other offensive linemen. I mean, there's words that I can't say that Jason Kelce would always say after, as soon as they would snap the ball, because it's the center that's like put in the worst position there. And, it's definitely a very physical play from that standpoint, but I don't know about banning it at this point. It's not just like the Eagles are the only team that can do it. Every other team can do it. And even though I think it would be put under the banner of making the game safer, I think part of the reason, if it were to be banned, if the NFL decides, and I believe it has to go to a vote and such, but if they decide to ban it, I could also see the argument, and Murphy kind of made the case there, that it's not an exciting play. You want more drama with the play. So when it's 4th and 1 or 4th and short and you can't do a tush push anymore, you got to come up with a better call. So there's going to be some more drama. Are you going to hand it off? Are you going to do a pass? That sort of stuff, especially if it's like 4th and inches from the goal line. But you can't do the tush push. You're adding more drama when you take away that particular play. And I think that's enticing for the NFL. It's enticing for that. So I don't think it's going to be banned. I really don't. I don't think it's going to be banned. But I think it's going to be in the conversation, at least for the next few years. Maybe ultimately it would be, but I don't think it's going to be banned this year. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. I know some people are adamant about it. I know some are saying, stop it then. If you don't like it, stop it. And then the counter argument to that is, well, how can you stop it when, maybe the defenses are at a disadvantage? I mean, we could go back and forth on this whole thing all day, every day. And nobody is going to come to a full-on agreement. Not everybody is going to agree on it. I guess my thoughts on it, my opinion is, I don't know. Like, I'm not like banging the table to ban this play. I'm not banging the table to like make like this is the biggest thing that's wrong in the NFL and this is the thing that they've got to change. I feel like there's some other things that should be on the priority list that they should figure out. And that's kind of where it leads into the exercise I threw out to the rest of you, was if you could come up with some rule changes, if you could put together a proposal for the competition committee what would be some of those rule changes? And these are just a few that I would have ahead of the brotherly shove or the tush push or whatever you want to call it. One, can we change the onside kick rule? Like the fact that it can't be until the fourth quarter, you got to be down and such. You know, it kind of got brought up during the Super Bowl when the Chiefs were down. Remember, Chiefs could do an onside kick until the fourth quarter. And it's like, geez, you know, you're trying to maybe get a little bit of a comeback going here in the Super Bowl a little bit quicker. And the quicker way to do that is to try to get onside kick rule. But at the same time, you know, everybody's all lined up and, you know, it's like it's kind of predictable. And it's not saying nobody succeeded in getting the onside kick because there were teams that did it last year. But can we alter the onside kick rule where you could do it at any point in the game? And I don't like the fact that you have to declare for it. Again, it's a safety thing that the NFL is using as their reason. They're throwing that out there. It's a safety thing. So, you know, guys aren't caught by surprise and getting hit, and that's where injuries lead to it. And I'm all about making the game safer, but you're taking away one of the exciting plays with the onside kicks. So can we alter that? Can we alter it where you could do it at any point of the game and maybe alter it so you don't have to announce it? You know, just I want to add that surprise element back into it. And I think the onside kick rule is just dumb now. Now it's to the point where, you know, if you're down and, you know, there's a minute left in the game, but you have no timeouts and you're down by whatever and you need to get the ball back. I don't know what the percentages were offhand from last year, but it's like, yeah, you ain't getting the ball back unless somebody touches it or you get a bad or good bounce for you and such. So one of mine would be like, you gotta alter the outside kick rule. You gotta change it up a bit. You gotta change this up a bit. I would like more eye in the sky. You know, the thing is, what's confusing sometimes as a fan, and I hate it when, you know, it goes back years now with the whole what is a catch, and it's still an argument. But eye in the sky stuff, and we saw it in the playoffs. We saw it, you know, maybe even in the Packers-Eagles game. You know, opening kick, Keyshawn Nixon, Orrin Burks, was it a hit to the helmet and such? What's reviewable? What can we, you know, why is there only certain plays that, quote unquote, New York will call into to change, but some they won't? Some other ones they won't. Why can't they just do it for everything? It's quick. They just call the official. They radio in. They don't have to go under a booth. They could just call it in, and it takes maybe a few extra seconds. But can we just make everything like eye in the sky or just expand it? Because it gets confusing as to why is that one an eye in the sky? Why is that one where New York can chime in and change the call on the field, but on that particular play they can't? And it's so obvious that it's wrong, but they won't change it because they can't. That to me is just dumb. And I get you got the human element into this thing, but if you are going to do it for some of the things, you might as well do it for all of the plays. So it's frustrating when you're sitting there watching it. You know, in one play it's like, oh, they changed it. Okay, good. You know what? They got it right. But then maybe a few plays later, you're like, that is so blatantly wrong. Why isn't New York correcting it? Well, they don't do it for that one. Why not? Why not? Like, I would like to see that expanded more. And we've got the technology. It's 2025, okay? And we still measure first downs with 2 big sticks and some chains. I feel like there's a better way to do it. Now, I understand you still maybe want to keep the aura, the feel, or whatever way you want to use that. Like, okay, I'm not saying getting rid of the chain gang and necessarily getting rid of the chains and such, but I feel like if there's a questionable placement of the ball, or there's a questionable, did the ball cross the line of scrimmage for a first down? Did the ball cross the plane for a touchdown? I feel like there is a simple solution to say whether that's a first down or whether that's a touchdown with all the advances in technology that we have. And it's not just eye in the sky. Is it like laser beams, invisible laser beams, or whatever the case? I feel like there's a better way to determine whether a ball carrier picked up a first down or whether they crossed for a touchdown. And why aren't we incorporating that? You could still do the chain gain. But if it's questionable, if it's a questionable bark, okay. Then you got the laser thing. I feel like there's a better way. You don't even have to have like flashing lights or anything like that. It could be something invisible, and it could be something that, sends a signal to New York or whatever. And if they get it wrong on the field, they can call into the officials down on the field and correct it. It doesn't have to be out there in the open for fans and everybody to see. It's like, not like hockey where you got the strobe light going off when you hit the goal in there. You can make it so there's a little bit of a buzzer that only the officials get if they get the placement wrong or something like that, if you still want to keep the chain gain out there. But I feel like with the advances in technology and such, we can make it simpler to where we're not having conversations on Monday mornings and saying, that was an awful spot, or no, great spot, knees out. And maybe that, and honestly, that I honestly believe that's part of the equation, is because when you add a little bit of drama and when you add a little bit of questionable calls and decisions, it adds more publicity to the game. It adds more talking points for everybody. It's got everybody talking at the water cooler and the coffee machine. It's good coverage. It's coverage. It's attention on your sport. So to me, those would be like the rule changes or proposals or edits that I would push forward towards ahead of Tush Push rules.